Thank you guys for being here. My name is Mike Corrado, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about software solutions from Adobe, and the title of the software is called Frame.io, and this is a true story. I didn't know anything about this at another show. We had Charlie Anderson here from Adobe. We've got Ben Davis from Yamin Studios, whose other half is probably home doing most of the work while you're here. So, Natasha, we call out to you. And I was blown away by this. I think my ignorance, not knowing what it was the last time, made me even more excited. So I want to learn even more because I know Charlie's added more to the program here. We'll get into that in just a little bit. But just for the audience, Charlie, explain a little bit about your background, where you're from. Ben will go to you, and then we'll get into Frame.io.
Sure. Thanks for having me. So I'm Charlie. I run the partnerships at Frame.io. But before I joined Frame.io, I have a background in the film industry. So I started in 2007 as a DIT. I've been a cinematographer for the last 15 years as well. I do a lot of work with like commercial work for stuff. If you've seen any Mint Mobile commercial, you've probably seen my work. So I do a lot of work with like Ryan Reynolds, a bunch of other people as well. So just
Hot
name
stuff.
dropping.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Ben Davis, where are you from? What's up with you?
So I'm Benjamin Davis. I'm one half of the team at Yamin Studios. I work with my beautiful wife. She's the queen of my life. I like to tell people she does all the hard work. I just carry the bags. I'm originally from New York City, and me and my wife, we own a boutique wedding videography studio, as well as the commercial side of our business is called McKee Place Creative, where we do a lot of corporate, commercial, nonprofit work as well. And I'm super excited to be here with you guys to talk about Frame.io.
And the beauty of this is not only do we have the person behind the architecture here to explain it all, we have a person that's actually using it in the field. And this is also true. We were just backstage, and Charlie was doing a demo for a few people, and the words that came out of the mouth were holy S-H-O-O-T to clean it up. And that's your tagline for this software, because it really does some incredible things. Yeah. But before we get into the slides, or maybe you want to bring up the slides, talk a little bit about what Frame.io is, what the intent is. You know, what's the software all about?
Yeah, sure. I just hit this button, right?
Yep.
There we go. All right. So
nice logo.
Beautiful logo. That's our new version 4 logo made by our amazing brand team and whatnot. So essentially what Frame.io is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of people, I tend to just make things up as I go along, it's a centralized place to do collaboration with teams, as well as a place to centralize all your assets. By assets, I mean it could be anywhere from a PDF, like a shot list, storyboards, your videos, your dailies from camera to cloud coming in, so that way people can either start working and download everything, start working on things within Premiere, or can start to collaborate on like final edits, etc., to kind of like expedite the process and whatnot. Because if you think about it, like if you're trying to get information from a client, the way that it's been done before is like you send an email and says like, hey, what do you think about this? Like, hey, can you like take the highlights down in this area? Like where and what timestamp? And you're like trying to comb through. Did you mean this? And they're like, no, I mean this. But now with Frame, you can do like I'll get into like the annotations and whatnot. But you can like I think it might actually be in the next slide. No, it's that slide where like you can actually like annotate. You can draw on things. You can be able to say like, hey, we like this. Like maybe bring her face up a little bit more, as it says in the comments, and be able to tag certain people. You can pin anchors on very specific things, and it works not just for video, but for photos, PDFs, docs, right, InDesign files, etc.
Yeah, and I don't want to jump over that because there are commercial clients that you may shoot for that you want to send information back to the studios or the office. You can begin your editing process, and to me, if I have this correct, Charlie, it's all about workflow. It's about speeding up workflow. And we said this last time, time is money. Time is money. Time is money. And if you want something that's going to save you that time and save you that money, this is a great way to collaborate with everyone else.
Yeah, and not only time is money, but appearances also matter sometimes just as much. So if you have something that's like a sleek-looking platform that you're trying to get feedback from people, like it may not be like the forefront, but it's like the subtleties that kind of get people like knowing. Like it's like showing up with a matte box on your camera, and you're like, people recognize that you may not need it, but it looks good.
So Ben, transition us a little bit into how you are using Frame.io right now. So and we'll see some slides from you later.
Yeah, so I've been using Frame.io since the very first year that Frame.io was actually available as a software platform in both my wedding and my commercial business. Most people don't know we have an editor that works on staff with us. And so for us, it was a great way to streamline our process to get edits done, annotate files, as well as pretty much make all of our projects be so much more efficient in our turnaround to our clients, because I can tell you exactly where and when, just like Charlie mentioned, about where we need to change color, highlight shadows. Hey, I don't like this clip. Can we swap out this clip for another clip, and literally make things happen on the fly? The one thing I love is there's an app. So while I'm in the field maybe working, my editor's back in the studio, and I can make edits right on the fly, and she could be making those changes real time, and we can still continue to do business at a high level while we're working on other projects at the same time.
Well, I also think this is kind of an easy thing to sell at a wedding, that you could have somebody editing back, you know, in another location. That stuff comes in. You have a video to present before the end of the wedding's ever over.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about same-day edits, right, sometimes that's a challenge to be able to put together same-day edits. No one wants to run around dumping cards in the middle of the reception. That's a huge challenge. But if I can get proxy sent to my editor right away, you know, I can put out some same-day edits right away, you know, within 15, 20 minutes, because all the proxies are being sent to them and they're constantly cutting. And then when you think about social and how we want content right now, this immediate generation, as proxies are coming in, they can identify clips. I can send them notes. Hey, can you pull this and create a 15-second reel? And it could be happening in real time. So in an age where content creators, no shade, are coming out, this gives videographers another tool in their tool belt to be able to access to provide their clients with another service.
See, that's awesome. And I hope I don't oversimplify this, but did anybody work with Adobe Acrobat or ever shared a file with somebody where you're making changes, making edits, and you share it and collaborate with a bunch of people? Imagine this is that on steroids, where you can now do this visually, and that's the most important. So take it back, Charlie.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember which order I had things going, but essentially, like, to kind of like just go through kind of like a proposition of like what frames like value is to a lot of things. A lot of it is, like as mentioned, like organization, being able to organize and display assets based off of like the name, the file size, file types with the new version of Frame.io, which you couldn't necessarily do before. There's a whole bunch of new metadata tags that you can do. Having everything in one space for new dynamic collections. Mm-hmm. So if you say, like, as a videographer or a wedding photographer, you could say, I only want to have people with, like, I only want to show stuff that I deem as, like, 5-star rating to the client, but, like, I don't want to go through and, like, have to curate every single link to send out. I want to send one link that everyone can look at, which is what this collections is about, is being organized based off of different fields of, like, what is an image, what is the rating, et cetera. And then, as you mentioned before, being able to collaborate in real time. You can see behind me, like, the different comments that are happening, people collaborating on this. And also, like, on the bottom of the screen here, the timeline on this video, like, there's little circles and whatnot that are right here. Those are the people commenting on the time code of that video. So it's not just like, hey, can you fix this? It's frame accurate, where you can not just have the comment, but you can annotate on it, like before we talked about with this, having a lot of that more granularity for having collaboration and feedback, because that's really like what speeds up the process.
And one of the things that fascinates me as the administrator of the project, let's call it, I guess, a project, that you can define who gets to see what, how often they get to see it, or once everybody's decided, well, that clip is really good, this fascinated me too. Okay, that's a done deal. We give that a check mark, a green light. Mm-hmm. That's done. We don't have to go back to that. Talk a little bit about the flow and who has permissions and what types of permissions and security about all of this.
Sure. Kind of going back to what we said about, like, collections, like, you can literally build different, it's not showcased here, but, like, you have, like, these different roles that you could do. You can set a dynamic set of credentials that say, I only want to showcase stuff that needs review. So if it's tagged as need review, that's going to go to my client. And once they mark it as approved, they don't see that clip anymore because that's not what they're focused on. And then you can kind of like use it as like a checkbox or a to-do list of going through and looking at everything. So it's like a great way to just kind of build your own workflows with your clients of what you're trying to get, and making sure that they are responsive for the things that they need to give you input on.
So if we're not all blocking it, I see the word retouching here. What does something like that mean? That's in the process of being retouched, not approved yet, so it's in the mode of being looked at and reviewed.
Yeah, so previously in what you think the version of Frame that you're used to, this is the new version of Frame. Right. You only had approved, in process, and I don't remember what the other one was offhand because it's been a couple of years since I've used the previous version. This, you can literally define any role you want. You could say, hey, this is it's in the process of retouching. It needs some additional feedback on it. It needs John to comment on it. You can literally create your own tags and workflows to be whatever it is that you need.
And that's powerful, right? Because when you look at the plethora of projects that you have to work on, being able to specify where something is on the pipeline is critical in being able to make sure that you get projects out the door on time and on budget.
And we had talked about this with a cinematographer out of California last time, Corey Rich. He does a lot of commercial clients, but I would think the security for the families that you're working with, the brides and grooms, is essential to you.
Yeah, I think one thing that we pride ourselves on are everyone's personal moments are important to them, and we want to make sure that the only people that need access to the memories are the people we give access to. So our process is we'll do a first draft, we'll provide it to the bride and groom, and they're the only people that have access to it. It's passworded so that they only have access to it, and then when they're ready to share it out with the rest of their friends and family, then we provide an open link for them. So being able for them to have that personal security, but also that privacy, so that no one else on the world is not searchable, you can't Google it, is super, super important. But also giving them the ability to be able to annotate on their own wedding film things that they love and don't love, things that they want more of, is super, super important. Because in the wedding film industry, these micro moments are super, super important. And sometimes those details are lost.
So, Charlie, the software offers custom branded shareable collections. What does that mean?
Exactly what I just showed up from behind you. So in the previous version, you said, like, hey, can you go and look at this? And it's kind of like whatever was available at the time for the previous version of Frame. Now you have customizable shares that you can brand for the individual person themselves.
Right.
So with this, like, you can adjust whether or not you want to have what information you want to have available. You can have your own custom header. You can change the color schema based off of what someone wants. Maybe there's like a certain, like, maybe it's gold and blue for a wedding. Like, you can change literally every single detail that you would want to correlate with the clients that you're working with based off of, like, hey, like, this is the theme. I'm going to continue with it. It's those little touches that we talked about before that go a long way. So
Yamin Studios can brand themselves within what they're presenting to their customers.
Exactly. Or they can do something that's a generic for yourself that you want, to, like, maybe for a proposal for what you're trying to do. Or you have something that's custom made for that client because you know that those little touches are the reason why you got hired.
Yeah, being able to make it client specific and white label it to match the branding is super, super important. Again, those little touches, like you mentioned, elevate the service that you are able to provide for your clients.
And I know you probably had other meetings with your customers and clients, but that almost suits you because you're cinema, right? I mean, the way you present your product is cinema. You got the slate, the title, the slide, the made by motion picture type thing. I think that would be a perfect fit for you.
Yeah, I'm all about customizing every aspect of the customer experience for my clients, from the first entry point in our customer journey until final delivery. So being able to, even during the editing process, to add these little nuances to the way we deliver to our clients elevates our client experience that much more.
Perfect. Charlie, why don't you continue on with the slideshow?
All right. So the thing that we didn't, I wish I touched on last time, was the fact that we now have, when you create a project in version 4, we now have pre-assigned themes that you can start from. So if you don't want to, like, start from scratch, and you say, I want to kind of have an idea of, like, what would a social media marketing campaign look like from that? Like, how can I use the new version of Frame in different ways that more than just a place to put files? Like, what are the certain things we can have? So we have literally everything from casting auditions to location scouting to VFX workflows, commercial photography, storyboarding, with examples and whatnot, so that we can kind of get an idea of, like, okay, maybe this is, I may not need it for this specific idea, but this gives me an idea how I can use this, because ultimately it's about, like, how do you centralize everything that you're working with based off of the needs of what you're trying to present to your clients.
From a business standpoint, being able to create these templates so you have repeatable, sustainable actions that you can continue to implement within your team is super, super important, whether it's a wedding or commercial. So these templates are actually amazing to me. I can't wait to dive into those.
Yeah, I'm stoked for you to like, explore it. It's really cool. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan.
So for someone like me, it's going to make me look a hell of a lot more professional.
It gives a great starting point.
No, that's great to have those. It's like a built-in tutorial, essentially. You're doing the work for me. Kind of. Not the shooting part, but the coordination part.
Exactly.
Continue on.
So, you touched on the thing about like being able to like give same-day edits. Now, the thing that I'm really excited about with our partnership with Nikon is to be able to introduce camera to cloud to the Z6III, the Z8, and the Z9.
This is where the holy poop came out backstage.
Yeah. So before I get into the actual demo of itself, because that's where it gets real fun, I want to show a little bit about like the process of how fast and easy it is for me to connect my camera and my device to my account. So when you have a camera to cloud, when you have a project within Frame.io, there's a little section in the bottom left-hand corner called C2C connections. And that brings you to this. This screen just says, hey, I want to add a new connection. I click the add a new connection, and the NX Mobile Air app on Android, you can say, I want to get a pairing code once my camera is connected to my phone. That gives you this 6-digit code. Once you enter that code in, it says, okay, this is your camera with your serial number. You can change this name if you really want to. Once you're there, it's connected. You can see it says it's online. It has a little icon that tells you what the model number is. You can rename this, etc. I can see behind me that this is like, I am the user who connected it. You can tell what the firmware version is, when it was connected, the serial number. It's those little things that maybe you want to hire like a freelance, an additional shooter to come with you with their camera. You may want to know like, okay, like are they on the correct firmware version for this? Like who is the person that is like authenticating all of these devices, because maybe you want to like expand to a fleet management type system where you can hire more people to like shoot into your projects. That way now you can get like a 10,000 foot view on what's happening.
Right.
So the neat thing about the thing that I love to do is a live demo.
Right.
And show this in person.
All right, so who wants to see what's actually going to happen coming out of his camera sitting on the floor?
Yeah, so this is a QR code that you can scan.
You may have to duck, Ben. You may have to like lean forward because
it should get there. So essentially what you're going to see when you scan this QR code is I've been filming a bunch of I hope this works. I didn't look to make sure this was the correct one, so I hope it is.
All right.
So I've been like filming a little bit yesterday and today with my camera. Obviously, like I don't carry SD cards. I don't carry card readers with me anymore because everything just goes to the cloud, and that's just what I edit off of. So you saw me like kind of walk around. I was shooting some stuff over there. All this stuff is still like in my camera. So essentially what I'm going to do now is I just have my camera connected through a USB-C cable to my NX Mobile Air app on my Android device. And essentially, I could also do this wirelessly if I wanted to. But I'm just going to record everyone here. I'm shooting 6K NRAW. And while I shoot the 6K NRAW, it is essentially uploading the proxy file. And if you can see, it's already started to do that upload. As soon as I hit
Hit the delete
I hit
button.
the thing to kind of do a thing. All right, so I'm going to try that again just to kind of see. You can see it in action. I'm hitting record. I hit cut. As soon as I hit cut, I don't have to do anything else. This is automatically starting to upload behind. Now, if you haven't looked at this yet, hit refresh on the page. You'll see those files coming up, and you can start to comment on them. You might see some of my colleagues already starting to comment on them, etc. Just say like, oh, like you can start to get the idea of like, how does this work? How would I be able to use this? And now, while we're here, I'm going to continue. I'm going to be recording like a little 1-minute recap video for everyone who wasn't able to attend from Adobe. Be like, hey, this is what we experienced, et cetera. And I'm going to use Camera to Cloud because I'm going to have somebody start putting these things together.
So you got an editor waiting for the content.
Exactly.
Yeah. See, that's one of the coolest things about this. And if you check it out on our website, you go to our software page. There's two pro software packages you can get: is SnapBridge and Mobile Air. Mobile Air is the more advanced professional software for still photographers and video people to cinematographers to share their work. So continue on.
That was it.
That's it. So now, Ben, from the we've had a little bit of feedback back and forth. Just show one of your programs or one of your projects, I should say. Talk a little bit about what you do. The green button.
The green button. The big green button.
Unless you want to go backwards.
Okay.
Green button.
Big green button.
You're right. Green
there
button.
You go.
Green. Right. So, like I said, I've been using Frame.io since probably it started probably since the very first year. So this is kind of, I'm still in version 1. I'm a creature of habit. Charlie has convinced me to move to version 4, especially because I'm doing a lot more commercial work, and version 4 will probably be a little more applicable to the way I do business. But in version 1, this is like my home screen. So when I log in, this is where you'll see a lot of my wedding my wedding projects that I have, and I have them broken down by couple, right? On the left side, you'll be able to see some of the other projects that I've been working on. So for me, all my wedding clients kind of live in one folder. That's kind of the way I work with it with my editor. And so within those folders, I have sub-projects within those folders, right? And so when Charlie talked about being able to annotate files and being able to say, hey, can we change this? Can we make this slow motion? Can we change the color on this? Hey, the white balance on this looks a little bit off. Can we swap this clip for a clip of grandma and not a clip of mom, right? Those things are important. And so as we're going through as a studio, we use this to go back and forth with just me and my wife. My wife is a little bit more nitpicky than me, just being honest. She nitpicks all the things. But it gives her the flexibility to kind of go in, and we can actually have some real dialogue about what's going on in the edit. And it gives us a great place to be able to have all of these files in one place, all these edits in one place, all of these conversations in one place, without having to have 55 emails, 60 Slack messages, and 30 Google chats, right? So that's one thing I love. Then when we get to a certain place, we send it to the client, and then we give the client an ability to be able to leave notes, because the way we see things and the way they see things are going to be very, very different. These are their memories. We want to make sure they have an input on what's being given to them. And so we give them the same access to frame.io, right, as Mike talked about and Charlie talked about, giving them securities and passwords and the ability for only them to have access to it. That's one thing that we love about using the platform. And so even from weddings transitioning to commercial work, we use it in the same way, right? This was a high visibility project where Magic Johnson was involved, but there was also a Fortune 500 program involved. And the same way we use it for weddings is the same way we use it for corporate, where they had the ability all the way up to the CEO, had the ability to jump in and make comments. Because it was a high visibility project, being able to have those securities in place so that the CHRO, the CMO, and the CEO had certain access to it. Certain lower level staff members didn't have access to it. Those securities are very, very important.
And those are all real comments, too.
Yeah, these are all real comments. These are
That's great.
Straight frame grabs from actual myframe.io account, right? And so for us, frame.io has allowed us to streamline our process and change our efficiency. Well, I won't say change our efficiency. Turn around projects in 50% quicker time than we normally would, because the back and forth of our clients is isolated to one location where they can be pinpoint where they are. I know we've all worked on projects where someone asked you, well, can you make this red? Can you make this green? Where? Where do we make it red? That one point, what one point, right? The one thing I love about frame.io, I can simply tell them, just scroll to where it is and leave a note at the bottom. And the one thing I don't think Charlie touched on, the one thing that I love the most is how it integrates with Premiere. You can have it integrate with Final Cut Pro, where
You just took my next question away, but keep going. This is a good setup.
Where the notes that you see on the side, I can bring those notes in to Premiere, and it will line up exactly on the timeline where the changes need to be made. So I don't have to guess or find the timeline spot where the changes need to be made. It automatically tells me, so I can jump right there and make the changes and then re-upload the timeline and have everything resync. So I don't want to take away from your
That's amazing to me, and I was going to bring that up because to have that integration, as I always say this, a Nikon lens is manufactured to a Nikon camera. The engineers are coding, designing, setting everything up to work with that specific model, and that's why we always recommend brand to brand, because that's the best way to go. That's the way the engineers designed it to work. I would think that it would be obvious that it works with Premiere and other software packages from Adobe, that they're all in sync.
Yeah, so right now with version 4, we have the commenting experience right now. We don't have the importing just yet for Premiere, but we have the commenting with that same exact experience where, like, as you do an edit and upload your files, you have the comments that come on the right-hand side. The comments will populate on the timeline themselves. You can reply within the actual Premiere panel, so you don't have to go back to Frame to do your work. Everything is right there. Yeah, I had a slide for it, but I didn't get to it because I wanted to see all your stuff, because I got a peek of it on an email. I was like, oh, I can't wait to see this.
So here's a question. We get spicy in our comments and Acrobat sometimes back and forth. Is there a way of hiding your comments internally with those comments that are fed by your customers and clients?
Yes, actually. That's one of the great things that I wanted to comment, but like I was wanting to hear what you said, is that you can, so say you have like all these internal comments about a certain file, but you want to have the client CEO take a look at it as well. You can turn those comments to internal only, so that way no one externally can be able to see them, but it's still the same asset. That way you can have those comments on the side, because like it's the same thing when you're in a Teams meeting or whatever, you're slacking your colleagues on the side. It's like, can you believe this? Like, same concept, but within the same asset, making sure that they don't have to see the back and forth about what the creative decisions were made. They just want to know about like what their input is.
And you made a quick comment before, and I just want to address it, that you're shooting a camera without a card in it. Is it okay to carry that card in the camera and still access the ability to transmit Does it? Can you do both? Can you go to card and transmit at the same time? I guess is the question.
Yeah, so actually I have a CF Express card in here. Okay. So I do have a card. You have to have a card in the camera in order to make it work. But like I don't actually it never leaves my camera. Because once it's there and I have all the files that I'm looking for, because a lot of stuff that I'm working on is like just for social, or I'm either shooting an N-Log or I'm shooting just 709 for my own, like a LUTed image for my own purposes. I'm just looking to get them up as fast as possible so I can put something together later on for me personally, or I have someone else helping to work.
Got it. All right, why don't you continue on, Ben?
Sure. I think the other thing that I want to touch on is we've all had instances where we have version 1, version 1A, version 1A, 1C, 2, 5, 3, right? The one thing I love about Frame is that you can give your clients the ability to look through all the versions. So if they say, well, I didn't tell you to do that. Yes, you did. You told me to do it in version 2. Let me show you. It's right here. And so the ability to have version files and have them accessible readily with the click of a button, for me, has been transformational in my business to be able to get projects in and out of the door pretty efficiently. So
and compare versions. You can do a side-by-side comparison.
Oh, man, I love that. And one thing I use the most is their approval feature, so that at the end of the day, especially when I'm working with my commercial clients or my wedding clients, I want to get your official approval, not an email, yes, it's approved, because sometimes you can come back and say, no, I didn't send that. No. I love that in Frame, they can approve their files right then and there, so we know to take your file, your project from in process to approval and get all your final documents out of the door. So that's one thing I love about Frame as well. And so like in this example, we have projects in various different stages, from being approved to being in production to not even being viewed yet. So that's another way that I use Frame in both my wedding and my commercial work.
Can you get notifications that, hey, you're a little bit behind here, Ben? Natasha's doing all the work?
Yeah, I mean, right now my phone is blowing up in my pocket right now with all the Frame notifications that are coming through from everyone leaving comments on it. So it's literally vibrating.
I need all the help I can get. I'm talking to Siri all the time. Siri, wake me up at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. I got to go to a trade show. At my age, I need all the help I can get. So
I love
reminders
the notification,
are important,
especially if it's like because a lot of the work that I still do with cinematography, like it's high level work and like it's a high profile. People are seeing things very quick turnaround. Sometimes the stuff we shoot airs the next day or goes to, they say go to tape, but goes to YouTube the next day. And so like there's like the comments need to be like you need to be able to like weigh in immediately. So like I have it turned off right now because it was going crazy. But like the watch notifications from the app to let me know like someone commented on things, so like I don't need my phone with me all the time. I can have the cellular connectivity, or I just have email notifications that I can set up either 15 minutes, once per day, etc. There's a whole bunch of different things that you can customize your preferences for notifications.
That is awesome. Well, we had 30 minutes to talk about Frame.io. I think we got a ton of stuff in, more fresh things than we talked about the very first time. Ben, from your perspective on the wedding side, you're on the filmmaking side, the still side can still benefit from this great software. I love how everything interacts together. You've gotten me excited to try this on a few projects, so when I get home and I start working again outside of the stage here, I'm excited and motivated to do some more. So thank you guys. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Ben. Natasha, again, if you're watching this at some other time, we miss you. And guys, thank you for being here.